So now the Schadenfreude is not so fun, it's not so tasty. This is the point at which, so with France is going to show us a lot in the long run. One, how you react to riots, because I've got this feeling France is going to put their riots down with much more force than we did. That seems, from what I know, that tends to be their history. That when things get really bad, they bring out the gendarmes and they bring out the military and stuff like that. There was basically an interaction I had where France came up, and there was somebody that their view of it, it's so, the police did this, now everybody's rioting. It was a reaction, it was a reflex the person had. They're here from in the Northwest, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, people should rise up. Fundamentally is what was going on. Rather than really understanding, once you have riots, you have a really, really hard time ever recovering from them fully. Almost unless there's like an unbelievable boom time that comes along. And just sort of, you almost can't help but have the place fundamentally just rebuilt, repopulated and rebuilt. That's one of the things about people who cheer on rioting as some form of rebellion. It's like, okay, the best outcome, is that the neighborhood is just repopulated. That's the best outcome. The worst outcome is that the neighborhood is never repopulated and just becomes a more and more dangerous place that no one will go near because of the history of riots. That's what's now absolutely, positively starting on the West Coast. So France is going to tell us a lot about a much larger picture. Now, what's happening with San Francisco and LA, Portland, Seattle, and apparently this is starting because there was also riots all across mid-sized cities across the United States. So in many places, like Tim Pool really pointed out, there's like 100 places of decent size that had some kind of riot that was significant for their area. What's now starting to happen because of remote work, expansions on the availability and the services of something like Starlink and other providers as such, that people are reporting companies are moving out of downtowns because they now are starting to get, really what they're doing, they're probably hiring younger and cheaper and tech savvy. So, younger and cheaper and tech savvy, this would be people who would want to get something done faster. So these are also the kind of people who are probably very averse to the idea of the meeting, because the meeting is a thing loved really by Gen X and Boomer women. They love having meetings, and that eventually, this is one of the things, is you can do this kind of over the phone, but really the meeting in a place, to have a work meeting in an office that everyone's dressed up and oh my gosh, I've worked enough places that I remember these women who are supposed to be some big deal coming through just to get food for the meeting. So I'm like, so is this tea for your tea party? What the fuck, mom? So it was, rather than just people sending each other information very quickly and curtly over a telephone line about what needs to be done or this, that, and the other. No, you need this big meeting. And a big part of this is so that you create completely inappropriate situations for work to get done. That it becomes all these interpersonal politics, this, that, and the other, rather than really legitimately getting work done. And there's fewer and fewer people who companies basically are starting to find that they're like, no, the people who don't like meetings and are capable are very capable. they're very, very capable. They just want to get the work done. And everything that's happened over about the last generation is starting to turn on the left, starting to curdle. So all the benefits packages, people, the young go-getting quasi-autistic bro who can provide you the intelligence-based service that you want to get this project done. He does not want his car broken into. He can't afford that. He cannot afford to replace a window or any of that kind of thing. So if he can work from where he has a pretty decent computer rig that's up to standards and regulations of the company, he's set, or some laptop that they're going to have him on. He's already paying basically for Wi-Fi. He's already, he doesn't want to get his car destroyed. He cannot afford to be killed or robbed when he goes to work. This person, and versus, he's not going to be able to come in. This is a cubicle you don't have to rent. This is an office chair you don't have to buy. This is janitorial services for the office that you no longer have to employ. This is the building with plant that you no longer need to deal with the plant anymore. Dealing with the plant. That requires people bringing their expensive equipment into town, possibly to get it stolen out of their vehicle while they're working on your place to wire it and put these cubicles together and clean the fucking toilets. Now, when what everything is about is you are in this thing of, you see, we can't get talented, go-getting, Pareto distribution, quasi-autistic bros without having people around them that they want to work with and can work with them. No, you don't need that anymore. You absolutely don't need that anymore. You just need really almost something like an intelligence network. That you just need somebody who can coordinate the project managers, the project leads, and stuff like that. It's a very efficient use of technology that unfortunately, like, the boomers could not adapt to. Gen X is having a very hard time adapting to, and for the aforesaid, the luxurious office. My awesome outfit that I'm wearing to the luxurious office is going to be so sweet. Can't wait to see the people at the office. Talk to them about stuff at the meeting. No. And if people are kind of like, whoa, wait, now that I think about it, that almost sounds like some kind of social club or school setting or something like that was being paid for by corporate America. It kind of was. That Gen X kind of got this opportunity to have sort of a social club paid for by VC and companies, and maybe produce a product and service. Maybe, who knows? And that's then the next thing about that is, okay, so these were the inputs, because there's people who are like, there's all these buildings there, this, that, and the other. At some point, somebody, people are going to want to, the bosses are going to want to pull people back in. It's like, well, but okay, are they producing goods and services? That's the next issue. Were they making any revenues? Were any revenues being made? I mean, just revenues. I mean, not even profit. Were any revenues coming in? Because that was one of the issues that was identified by what do you call it? Reinventor Consulting. Reinventor Consulting got into that there's this tremendous number of companies on the West Coast that were surviving completely off of venture capital. They weren't producing any patents. They weren't producing goods. They weren't really providing services. They were supposedly developing this or who knows what, but on venture capital. So, if it turns out that by the end of it, France can't keep control of things, if the EU by winter, if like say Norway, like remember Norway right now is saying fuck this all this environmental stuff. If by the winter there is not a serious discussion of the Western world seriously altering its total pussification, its faggotosis with its faggotronics, and its and requiring tremendous amounts of petroleum product now put in the form of Vaseline rather than oil and gas. If the West keeps acting like this, Dubai is it. Places like Dubai, business will be done in places like Moscow. Really, this is the stage of it, and you're seeing it. You're seeing that these guys were already planning these kind of super city, trade hub, artificial cities, which many cultures, they're used to doing things like this, creating the imperial city, the great imperial city, that, everyone from all over the world does business there. But I mean, the Muslim world is already ahead on this, and I think because they were also a big part of the talk of civilization state theories and such, I think that they were ahead on a lot of this already. They knew ahead of time. There is no way the United States is going to keep being able to pull this off forever and ever and ever. And then also, it really was that they probably, all these guys are talking to each other and they're going, no, really, when I do business in California, this is what my costs are. And if I do business, if I'm in Texas, this is what my costs are. If I'm here in Dubai, this is what my costs are. Now because, and the internet really has undone the left. One, things like World Star and Black Stuff Black People Don't Like and VDare, have really altered the way that they can kind of sell their social theories. As they can't anymore. Their social theories don't work. And now you have the educated class now becoming digitally informed because the internet has undone them. That you have now the lawyers realizing, wait a second, we could just sue the left out of existence because almost nothing they think is constitutional. And it's starting to happen. So now there's a whole bunch of people who are talking to each other that are like, no. The reason it even got there is because there's something very wrong going on in the United States ideologically, and the investment will show. People, the world will divest. They're like, wait, everything comes from all over the world, and China's One Belt, One Road is not going to work the way it's planned. No, nothing works the way it's planned. Its pieces will come in handy in some places. the speed with which they built a lot of, especially the land parts of it, that's tofu. It says bean curd. They made out of bean curd. But the thing is, though, if maintained and improved upon, rebuilt over, the next 20 years or so, you could see infrastructure that is going to change parts of Africa, large parts of the Ummah, things like that. Places that America could have done the investment, China has, and so to the winners will go with the trading spoils. But it's also going to be that China at some point in many of these companies are going to be sort of selling off their clientele. And also these networks will change. The fact that there's just trade hubs in those places is going to change things for all those countries. But the divestment is coming. The student loan, the student, so already financial institutions are figuring out that the student loan repayment thing, that's going to break a lot of people. that's going to crush a lot of people, and things are going to get rough. They're going to get rough. I figure by winter we will be seeing some pretty serious problems in this regard. Because the repayments are starting now, so kicking people out of their places when they can't afford rent will happen in the fall and the winter, and that's going to be a tough row to hoe. It's going to be hard to watch. Layoffs will probably definitely be in full swing by that time too. Now, what fields the really large layoffs that are coming will be in, that's going to be hard to figure out until for about another 2 months. But that's coming. There's no way around that. And so this is extremely similar to the 1970s. This is why the Democrats don't like talking about the 1970s. With disco, they love talking about disco and that 70s show, but they don't like talking about what was happening politically during the 1970s, and it was pretty much this kind of shit. So, yeah, they lost then. They're going to lose, and it looks like not only are they going to lose big this time around, but even real big, generationally, probably a good 40-year loss. But we'll see. Yeah.